Hello, and welcome to the CSTA Wyoming's live webinar series. We are the place for all things computer science in the WYO. I'm Megan Garnhart, CSTA Wyoming president and a Wyoming high school computer science teacher. In today's session, we will be speaking with Jessica Klauzer-Zimmerman. Jessica is a Colorado CTE teacher focused on STEM and IT. Her menu of courses consists of AP CSA, AP Computer Science Principles, Robotics, and Quantum Computing, Quantum, and I might get this wrong, qubits?
Qubits are the computational foundation of quantum computing. So instead of a transistor, a qubit.
Nice. I might have to learn a little bit more of that at another time.
That's very fascinating. I highly recommend you dig into it. It's really interesting.
That sounds like something my students would absolutely love. Jessica has also taught web development and is branching a little bit into cybersecurity this school year. On top of all of that, she also coaches the Boulder High School robotics team. Both in the classroom and in her personal life, Jessica loves to play and tinker, brainstorm, and iterate. Her students traverse the engineering design cycle to explore current real-world challenges, devise solutions, and improve them through their failures and successes. Jessica works to put the power of new technologies into the hands of young people every day so that they can learn and grow and make informed decisions about their future technological pursuits. Today, Jessica is here to help our Wyoming computer science educators bring artificial intelligence into their classrooms instead of pushing it out, or the fear that is sometimes coming with artificial intelligence right now. Before we get started, we do want to ask that our live attendees, if you would just go ahead and place questions that you have in the comments or in the chat, and we'll answer those and as many as we can as time allows. Jessica, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That's like my LinkedIn profile information. Wordsmith. This is, rather than a nuts and bolts how artificial intelligence works, this is more of a high level philosophy discussion, I guess I would say. I'm from Colorado. I'm a Colorado native, and I grew up in Steamboat Springs, which I feel like is kind of like a neighbor of what I feel like more like a Wyoming person. I don't know, that sort of corner of the state is closely connected to Wyoming and the ranching community and stuff like that. So I'm curious to know, the people that are live here, who are you, what do you teach, and where do you live? If you could put it in the chat, then I could know who I'm talking to. This presentation is really kind of broad for any teacher finding themselves in the position of, okay, now we are, we're in the Wild West, right, of technology, and some ideas of how to I don't know, leverage the technology without encouraging students and ourselves to lose touch with what's important. Sheridan, I got COVID right before the meeting, so I wasn't able to come to the in-person. Houston, Texas. Okay. So we have CSTA representatives. I'm just wondering if we have any teachers, and which you might be a coordinator and a teacher.
While we wait for some folks to put in the chat, I will tell you, Jessica, I was just recently in a meeting with some industry professionals in our community, and they were talking about AI specifically, in their jobs, and this idea of using AI daily. And I did ask exactly what you kind of talked about, is how do we, what does it look like to introduce this to students without it being something that they use in a, cheating way, which is what teachers are usually worried about. And they discussed just this idea of using it as a tool, because if they're not, that it becomes they're behind in industry someday because it's an efficiency tool. And I was just so interested by that, to hear from all of these computer science people, and this idea that it is this really balance of how do we keep them from being unethical with it, but using it as a tool. So
yes. Okay, so we got some elementary teachers, STEAM K through 5. I'm very in the STEAM realm. My undergrad was in web development and ceramics I have a degree in. So I am always thinking about how to wrap in art and philosophy and things like that into my practice. So I think thanks for letting me know who's here in the room. Just want to get that understood a little bit before I launch. Just a little disclaimer, if you would like to use this slideshow in any way, you're welcome to, I think I shared the link, so you're welcome to copy it and change it and use it or not in any way you want to. So as you were saying, like artificial intelligence is here to stay. It's not going to go, we can make all the rules we want to, it's not going to go away. So we need to figure out what to do next. So what do we do? The agenda, I have a lot that I'd like to try to cover. So I'm going to kind of not zoom, but I'm going to go as efficiently as I can through these topics. AI for images, AI for text, then some ethical and moral implications, and then how to support our students using AI, and then also a bit of how to leverage AI tools for teacher productivity. And this slide deck was originally meant for an in-person workshop, so I've skipped all the slides that have like an interactive piece or videos that could be watched or audio that could be listened to, but they're in there in the slide deck if you would like to explore those resources later. Links to further reading and further viewing videos and stuff. And then at the very end is a 2-week intro lesson plan for that I put together for my AP Computer Science Principles course. And you're welcome to use that in any way you want. So first off, AI for images. To go on a trip with me to holiday break last year. I'm resting, hanging out with my family, and all of a sudden my Facebook friends start to have these really amazing profile pictures. And I'm like, what? So here's an example of some of the output that people, that I was starting to see, like really beautiful artistic renderings of my friends' faces. And I was like, what even is that? And back then it was, most people were using this app called Lensa. And I was interested in that. There's a couple of different, at the time, there were couple of different modalities that you could use. They had the woman version, the man version, and the cat version, and the dog version. The art styles use Lensa. Lensa uses AI trained models to filter your photos. So it's sort of an idealized, artistified version of yourself. Somebody said it's you, but 50% hotter. So idealized images. Basically what you do is you download the app, you create an account, you give it some personal info, enter your credit card information, upload about 20 selfies, and choose a set, pay some money, and wait a little while, and it will generate a set of images for you to choose from. So I was like getting into the debate a little bit, like, ooh, this is trained on a lot of artwork that people did not necessarily agree to have used for training these models. There's a lot of debate around whether or not this is an ethical tool. And yet, the output is so beautiful. I'm like, I gotta. It took me about a day, and I thought about the different sides of the thing. I'm like, I gotta try it. The other early side effect was sort of the over sexualization of images because the model was trained on the internet. So I made it a little while, and then 1.5 days maybe, and then I tried it out. So this is me as an anime character. It's so cute, right? What a beautiful thing. I had to pay like $8 or something, and I got a whole set. 2 things I want to point out about this, like it's an idealized image of me, no glasses. There's like a garbled, if you can see the garbled signature in the corner down there, that's the remnants of some real artist's signature in the corner. So I decided I'm gonna get, these are the rest of them. Here's more garbled signature in the corner. these are things that I could pay somebody hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, to like actually produce this kind of artwork for me, but it cost me $8 for a lot of images. And the artist whose work this is based on did not get any compensation at all. Also hypersexualized. I mean, I wish I looked like that, but I don't. This one actually, like, I have my other pair of glasses, looks almost exactly like this. So, in some ways it's really, it was a fun introduction to using this. Oh, and then some images are just don't really look like me at all, except for maybe my eyes are sort of that color. I don't know. Idealized versions of ourselves, right? So then I was like, well, what about this boy? This is my dog Upsy. I decided, like, well, that's such a cute output for me. How about him? And I got some gorgeous images that I just absolutely love while I'm like secretly, my heart is crushed because I'm like stealing other artists' artwork. It's a conundrum. It's an ethical conundrum, right? Who's the goodest boy? This one you can see, the hallucinations. He's got two tails in this picture. The collars get interesting because the AI trained images of dogs all have a collar, and the images that I uploaded also have a collar, so they sometimes end up with lots of stuff hanging around their neck. Again, this was maybe another $8, I guess. Generated 100 images and I picked the best ones. Here's my cyborg dog. Isn't he great? This one looks a little bit like where they, you can cut off a human mouth and slap it on a dog and make him look really funny. So in person, I did a little turn and talk. So I guess I'd like to do something in the chat with this. Like, if you've tried this app, what was your experience? Or if you haven't tried this app, would you? Why or why not? Do we have the kind of audience that people could unmute and say anything about this? Not sure how to do a turn and talk without like breakout rooms or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we definitely could. And I don't mind starting us actually. I haven't used
Kick
this
us off.
app. I haven't used this app, and actually I haven't used this app just because I was not wanting to spend the money, and I sometimes get a little bit stubborn not to like join the herd. Um, like honestly, that's just why. But I have recently used AI to create just completely fake humans because I wanted to for just to see what it would do. So I would just like put in a description of a human that doesn't exist, right? Like a completely made up person. And it was interesting because occasionally you'd get a weird thing, right? Where like an eyeball would be up here and an eyeball would be down on a chin, because again, sometimes strange. But I had like created a vision in my mind of a human before I did this, and then like gave it the details, and it was spooky how real it was. And so then I decided to give it like a description of my sister, my older sister, because it was someone that I could like really test, right? Like how realistic is it going to give me? And it was the first time it kicked a person out, like a person out, an image out of this person, like very realistic also, because they weren't like this where it's more animated look or some of them like that. This was like a very real look AI. The first like three were not great, but as I gave it a little bit more information, by like the third or fourth image, it looked creepy like my older sister, just from like me typing in a description. So I was not using Lensa. I was using actually the AI generator on Canva. So I haven't used this one. I didn't try this one just because I was a little stubborn and didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, but I've since tried something else in
Yeah,
images.
right. There are just so many tools that are just exploding all around us. So anybody else have a recent experience?
I'm just going to echo, I think Abby put it in the chat. I tend to shy away from things that I have to pay for. So I haven't tried that, but I am intrigued by, did you say that was on Canva, Megan?
I did. And if you have a Canva Pro, and I'd have to dig a little bit more, but if you have a Canva Pro, it gives you like outrageous amount of free AI generations for this. Like I'm talking like you get like 1,000 or something like that of free AI generations. So, and I'm not entirely sure how I got there, but I think I just Googled like free AI and like generators, and it was on Canva Pro.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that. Like the applications for all of these technologies, we haven't even thought of them yet. They're like we're coming up with uses every day. So that's to me, it's very important that we keep thinking about the ethics behind using this. And I'll get more into that. Anybody else want to share about your experience?
One of my best friends is an artist, and she is very concerned about it. Just because a lot of her work is very unusual and has distinct colors, but it is online because she wants people to be able to buy products with her art on it. So she is very nervous about her future, and all the, like you were talking about, the ethical pieces of stealing all the credit and her not getting any benefit from it.
Yeah, there's like current litigation in progress against Midjourney, I believe. Yeah, I'm just going to keep launching here. So there's an example from DALL-E 2 of the prompt is Darth Vader ice fishing. The model knows who Darth Vader is because there's tons of images of Darth Vader on the internet. It knows what a fish looks like, same deal. Knows what ice looks like. So this is kind of just a general example of output from a text prompt. Just hilarious to me. Another platform that I really love to use is Midjourney, and this I just copied and pasted their business slogan. Midjourney is an independent research lab exploring new mediums of thought and expanding the imaginative powers of the human species. How could that possibly be bad? And they also, by the way, have one of the most beautiful websites I've ever seen in my life. Like an ASCII art animated. I mean, it just brings a tear to my eye with how beautiful this website is. Are you able to see through the Zoom, the animation? Okay, good. That's totally irrelevant. I just really love that animated website. So Midjourney also takes text prompts, like you were describing about your sister, in Canva. So you type in, a text description of what you want, and you just looking at this image, you can see why artists are concerned. Like this is the text prompt was futuristic skyscraper, solar city at dawn, architectural rendering inspired by Zaha Hadid, atmospheric lighting. I don't know how you would feel if you were Zaha Hadid, that anyone could just kind of steal your style and generate images like this. That's not to say that everybody that uses these technologies is being unethical. It's a very, very sticky wicket, and we're right in the middle of it. So having conversations with students and admin is important that we're talking about. So the main event kind of for like school this year was ChatGPT and AI for text. And the reason that we have these tools readily available, they, up till just recently were only available to like, researchers who had access to like, giant supercomputers. And that's partially because of a combination of Moore's law, which is an observation that the number of transistors on microchips doubles every 2 years. And we're kind of reaching the end of that trajectory, just because the transistors are getting so tiny that we're getting down into like the quantum realm, and there's tunneling is happening, and things get really weird when you get really small. So partially Moore's law got us to computation power, but our computational capacity has grown exponentially in the last few years. Using parallel processing and other technologies that I, barely understand, but know they exist. And I'm just like in awe of what we have at our fingertips now. If you're around my age, you might, we've lived through going from no internet to where we are now, rotary phones, and just the entire trajectory has been stunning and amazing. And this is why we have this technology available to the general public. There's further reading about this exponential growth that you can read if you would like to. And I'm going to dig a little bit into ChatGPT, which stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's a free-ish artificially intelligent personal assistant, text-based. I don't know how much people in this webinar have used ChatGPT or other generative chat bots like Bard, and there's a whole bunch of them now. I think the Khan Academy came out with one called Conmigo. Everybody's in the game at this point. So there's so much you can do with these technologies, and like, okay, so it's just everywhere. So what are we supposed to do about it? So you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf, right? So this is kind of like the main drive of my work with my students and with my administration, who just kind of barely even knew this existed at all until recently. And what I was gonna do, this is already open. Actually, I don't want to log back in again. This is their main website. I'm working on a very small laptop, so I gotta like one second. Unpack it. Okay, so when I first started, I just wanted to take you on a journey. You're going on a journey with me back to where I discovered, or I had used ChatGPT before, but August rolled around and my admin was like, "Oh, you're teaching architecture this year." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure, I can do that." I have an art background. I'm not an architect, right? But I have studied art for a very long time and studied, architecture through the lens of, art history. So I'm like, I could do that. I could totally do that. And then I was like, well, I might need a little help getting going. So one of the tools that you can use is ChatGPT is very versatile. You just have to know what to say. So I was like, okay, today I have to submit my syllabus today, right? And just you heard the list of classes I teach. I have 6 preps, and there I was like, okay, I just need to get this done, right? I need to get started. So a lot of times using a chat bot can just help you get started. And this is where I get into the weeds a little bit with admin who wants to, not admin, my admin is great. The fear of students using this to cheat and to help. It's a very blurry line. So would you say, I just want a show of hands, do you think I'm cheating if I as a teacher use ChatGPT to generate not that I'm going to use this, right? I'm generating an introduction to architecture. I put in a pretty specific prompt, right? Help me write an introduction to architecture syllabus for high school students with little to no experience with CAD or architecture in general. Focus on workforce readiness. Do you think it's cheating for me to utilize this? And I'll kind of scroll through it. So it generated an introduction overview of what the class is about, broke it into modules with clever names, crafting your vision, exploring the digital realm, architecture in the modern world, and idea of how to assess, and then a little tag on at the end about workforce readiness. And when show of hands, do you think it's cheating for me to do this? And you're not allowed to say yes. No, just kidding. I can't see anybody's responses, but this is what I decided to do. So I don't know, judge away if you want. But I got started, and then I was also doing an edX course over the summer. It was a Harvard X class in like really esoteric architecture class, so that I could just kind of bone up on that part of my life to get ready. So I asked it to map it to that content, which within 3 seconds kind of mapped it. And I'm not going to spend too much time belaboring this, but it was able to map the topics for me a little bit. And then I was like, no, this is terrible. So I said, go back to the original syllabus. Can you add a professional resume and building a portfolio of plans and technical drawings? Because I wanted to do technical drawing by hand as part of the class. So came back, gave me this this output, and I got a lot of really good ideas of what to add to what I was already going to do. I did end up altering this quite a bit from there, but having this tool as a jumping off point was really great. And it saved me probably an hour and a half of researching and going down the wrong pathway, because I could just reorient my pathway as I went. So that is just kind of the first thing that I actually use that technology for. Now that we have this technology, kind of like everything feels like a AI project. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but I would like to talk a little bit about ethical considerations. For example, we have all these tools that can do so many things, but what might happen if this technology becomes only accessible to those who can pay? And you already touched on that a little bit, Megan. You didn't want to do Lensa because that costs money, but now Canva is free for a certain amount. It's like a freemium. We got these freemium apps where you get to a certain point where you're just, it's like you get addicted to this new amazing thing, and then you gotta pay to get the rest, you know. We'll see what happens. How about what happens when AI generated content outstrips human curated content on the internet, and then the data set that's used to train the machine learning is itself developed by AI or machine learning algorithms. And these are questions I pose to my students in my CSP class. And then this is already maybe happening. What might happen if we become complacent and allow technology to keep track of everything for us? And to what degree is this already happening? I'm just gonna let that sit there, because I already know that we've become complacent in a lot of ways, and losing institutional knowledge because, oh, the internet, just Google it, you know, it's a double-edged sword. Like, it's always there for us. How many of your students will not even Google something because it takes too long? I'm seeing this happen, and I'm like, oh no, what have we done? So anyway, we're just talking about it. And then what happens if we become dependent on these AI helpers and they fail? Like, right when ChatGPT first blew up, this was the screen, like, we're at capacity, sorry. So if you really need these things, are we sure that our, the electrical grid will be up, the servers will be running, there's no natural disaster that's taking out this thing that we need to happen right away? I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just bringing it up. So does anybody want to say
Jessica,
anything?
I wanted to just a second. And actually, if you'll go back to that prior slide, if you don't mind for me, and excuse me, because my voice is a little hoarse, but I really love these because my students and I talk about this a lot. I try really hard to talk openly with my students about ethics. I have high school students, so we talk really openly about this. And we talk about this first one as an equity consideration. And we talk very openly about the technology gaps that already exist, and that continuing to be a problem with AI not being an option for everyone. But I really like how you discuss like us becoming complacent or like stopping our learning because we're just like, oh, AI will do it for us. And we've talked about this idea that AI, I always explain it to them as like, sometimes AI pops out the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Right. And then, like you said, then all of a sudden you ask it to pop something else out for you. And you're like, this is not good. I don't like it. I always refer to it to my students as a soup sandwich. Like, I'm like, it goes from beautiful to soup sandwich so fast. Like, this is so gross and unusable. And so we talk about this idea of like, you still have to have the knowledge and the background in my mind to understand where the beauty is and where the soup sandwich is so that you can distinguish between the two. But it is a concern, I think, of where we become so reliant on it that it's like, I don't need to know that. AI will do it for me. And then if they don't know that it's incorrect, because AI will spit out just the most horrid things you've ever seen, right? So I just think these are such great questions that I'm constantly coming back to myself as as a teacher who's talking to my kids about this all the time. So I like these a lot.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I also teach high schoolers, so we get really deep conversations, which I appreciate. So I want to talk a little bit about the College Board, and I don't know who teaches AP classes, but they've gone full, do not ever even thinking about considering possibly one day ever. So students are categorically prohibited from using any and all artificial intelligence tools or essay writing services to guide, brainstorm, draft, or create student work related to any AP assessment. So there's a lot of gray area in there, but this is like directly from my AP CSP course, categorically prohibited. And at the same time, like you mentioned at the beginning, Megan, like these are tools that exist in the world. And do you think your future employer is going to be like, oh, this is great work. Wait a minute, you used AI to help, like you're fired? Like, no, that's not going to happen. And we need to teach our students how to use the tools to ethically and to increase their productivity without stealing our knowledge. It's really, we're like balancing on this weird little thing, and I definitely do not have all the answers, but these are more discussion and debate points, the benefits of AI. This is like, I would have students do a breakout and talk about it, pick one of these and talk about it. Unintended consequences of this technology, which is always something to keep an eye on, potential dangers and the ethical, moral implications of using chat bots and art bots that are trained on images basically stolen from the internet. And moving forward, what concerns you about this technology as an educator, and how can you use these technologies in your classrooms to deepen learning? So these are some ideas that came out of my conversation with my own students. So how to help them be motivated and not tempted to use AI to cheat, to change the assignments to be more personally meaningful, so they're not tempted to shortcut with AI chatbots. Less homework and busy work, and only doing assessments of larger projects and less graded little things. Those are the things that they felt like they would be tempted to at the 11th hour cheat on. And in-person demonstration of learning, like handwritten essays. Literally a couple of my students said that we should do that. I'm like, wait, you want to do it like that? I'm like, okay, sure. This is from the mouths of babes, you know? And I know that is a way to ensure that we're not getting AI generated content if they are actually writing it with their hand. And, you know, to be honest, my students are in general on board with that idea. In-person debates and video explanations instead of just submitting written work. So what now? There's so many tools, so many things to focus on. And what did I want to say about this? Let me check my notes really quick. I guess I would argue that the first step is to educate ourselves and our students about machine learning, artificial intelligence, and generative language models, and how to use them or not safely and ethically. We also need to have frank discussions with our students and school administration about policies. And have a lot of different people at the table making those policies, because I don't think that the College Board policy is going to work. You know, you can say, you can make whatever rule you want to, teenagers just will find a way to break it. So there's that, yes. So what I've hit on, and this was very quick, but I hit on images, AI for text, how to use ChatGPT, ethical and moral implications, broad view, how to support students using AI, mainly just talking to them and figuring out where they're at with it. I think that conversation has to happen in every single classroom, and rather than just the proclamation of the law. It just doesn't work with kids. It just doesn't work. And then how to leverage AI tools for teacher productivity. I have a bunch of other resources in this slide deck that for like Magic School has a bunch of cool tools that you can use. ChatGPT itself or Bard or any of these can give you a lot of help with various things. And at the end here, I just want to make a plug for the Day of AI, which is really more like a couple of months of AI. It's a curriculum that MIT put out, and they have elementary, middle, high school, and they have a coding and non-coding tracks. I put the entire, I added some lessons to this and put the entire thing in here, just so that I could share it with this group and the other teachers that I'm in touch with. But it's intended for middle or high school students in order to just learn how machine learning works and what AI is. So it's not just some magical box. Okay, they need to understand that it's not a magical box. And I have a few minutes, so I'm just going to kind of zoom through. So you go through an activity about like whether or not, so there's a couple of examples of AI. Then this is you can do this as a pair deck or in person, to get people thinking about AI, if something is considered AI or not. Different examples: toaster, that robot dog from the video, automatic doors. This actually gives us a lot of interesting conversation with students. AI or not, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time in here, but then we start getting into like our technologies. Where are we on the edge, the cutting, the cusp of between machine learning and artificial intelligence? Then there's a lot to this curriculum, but it's a really well put together curriculum that I highly recommend if you are trying to teach any person of any age what machine learning and artificial intelligence is. And starts with training data sets. This is a great website by Google called QuickDraw, and super fun for like a half, if you've got a little bit of extra time. And then this lesson goes into training a personal image classifier, which is a machine learning algorithm for detecting images, whether it's you or not. Then there's some stuff about history of AI, and then a little dive into human and machine interaction with robotic toys. And since this is a 8-day lesson plan, I can't go too into it, but a really great lesson in algorithmic bias. I don't know if you've heard of the Gender Shades project, but this is there's a whole lesson plan that goes with it, but it's a really great conversation with students about how models are trained and how they can go wrong. And then a reflection at the end. And there's a bunch of links at the way end for extensions. And that is me hauling through the lesson plan, but we have a couple of minutes, just a couple, for any questions or anything like that.
I like it. And on the Wyoming has kind of pared back their computer science standards a little bit to be a little more focused for educators. And one that we were sure of, the committee that got to do this work to have in there, was on artificial intelligence. So our state is saying you have to teach about artificial intelligence and its impact on the world. So I think these are great resources we'll be sure to share out.
This is the best that I found that's like a prepackaged curriculum that you can actually use. You don't have to do a whole lot. There's so many lesson plans out there that it's just white noise, but this is really well put together and by age group. So you do have to apply as a teacher to get access to this, but it's really not that hard. And most of it's coming from this. There's also this great lesson plan that I haven't done yet about data science and decision making. And then there's a coding version too with Python, which I think I'll use this later on in my upper level Python class.
I will give folks a couple minutes to digest a bit and see if there's anything that they want to put in our chat for a question. Jessica, thank you so much for helping us to look into this and to wrap our minds around artificial intelligence and education, and then also just artificial intelligence as a whole. This is just something that is very new and emerging, and it came at us so fast. And I loved your quote about learning to surf on the wave, because the wave is going to keep coming, because that's exactly how this has been. Like, it felt as though it came so fast and so quickly. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to help us to better understand it, and then to also look at artificial intelligence and education. Where can our listeners find out more information or reach you? Is that on this slide deck? Can we also share out the link to this slide deck on when we post our webinar and on our Spotify as well as a podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. And my I think my contact information is on the first slide, or you can just Google my name because I'm the only one.
Okay, perfect. I figured with that last name.
Klauzer-Zimmerman in the universe, which yay.
I figured you might be. I am certainly going to be in touch. I would hope also that I just was sending Abby a message as this was happening, to like, we need to get this dayofai.org onto our newsletter, and then also onto our Facebook page, because it just looks incredible and like a resource that everyone needs to see. So I appreciate it. And I think you just seem like a wealth of knowledge that I, as a high school teacher, will be in touch with as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't say before we got off that I think also AP College Board is crazy to think they're going to stop use of all AI. So I just had to go ahead and say that. But thank you so much for joining us. A quick reminder to our listeners, please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Stay up to date with all things computer science. And if you do have an AI resource that you would like to share with us, please reach out. We're actively looking to include these in our newsletters and to push them out on our resources to our members. This is something that, again, it's not going anywhere, and we would love to share with our members as much as we can. And of course, if you have anything that comes up that you have a question, please reach out. We'd love to help you, or we'd love to share a resource with our state.